Hello everyone, today is 14th of May, now it's 10 past 10 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. And well, I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. First of all, Kharkov sector of the front line, of course, attention of everybody is towards Kharkov region right now, due to Russian these local scale offensive operations to create buffer zone, and latest reports are suggesting that Russian armed forces establish control or rather additional settlements on a borderline in the Kharkov region. Lukyantsy, for example, is under Russian control according to reports in Russian segment of internet. Also settlement of Bugrovatka under Russian control. Some sources are reporting that in between settlements, in between like Staritsa and Zelyone also are under Russian control, and therefore Russian forces from northern flank and eastern, northern western and northern eastern flanks of these offensive operations reach each other, and right now operations are conducted towards Tirnovo. I would not be surprised at all if during the day we will receive information that Russian forces establish control over the Tirnovo settlement. Also, when it comes to this northern western flank of offensive, Russian offensive operation, main direction of this offensive, as far as I understand, is Liptsy, and several sources are reporting that Russian forward units of Russian grouping of forces already reach Liptsy and even enter the settlement. And when it comes to northern eastern flank of offensive, main direction was and is Volchansk settlement, and according to some sources, Russian units established control over the entire northern part of Volchansk city, which is divided by a river. As you can see on this map, city is divided by this river, Volchan river, or Volchansk Volchia river, I guess. Whatever the name of that river is, this town is divided, and some sources are reporting that this northern part is under Russian control. Some sources are reporting that Russian forces are inside the northern part, although battles are continuing, and this area is not yet under full Russian control. In any case, in both directions, Russian forces reach their main targets right now for this moment, for this point of this offensive. So yes, this is it when it comes to northern sector of the front line. Reports are coming in that Russian forces activated drone and missile strikes and artillery strikes on Kiev region forces in Sumy and Chernigov regions. Also, Ukrainian telegram channels and Ukrainian some sources are reporting about activizations of Russian DRG units in Sumy and Chernigov region, and that may be theoretically be indicator that in upcoming days we may see Russian offensive operations to create this buffer zone in Sumy and Chernigov regions. Also, of course, in that case, pressure even further will increase on Kiev regime forces, and it will make it will even more the organized Kiev regime and its armed forces, which is already on the brink, by the way. Kiev regime forces already are stretched to its limits, and if we will see Russian offensive in Sumy and Chernigov region, then it will of course bring a closer day when Kiev regime forces will finally start to collapse all along the front line due to being unable keep up with the demands. Anyways, this is it when it comes to this northern sector. Russian offensive operations continue, although in my opinion, maybe it will make maybe it will make sense if Russian offensive operations will a little bit slow down because in previous days Russian forces were advancing quite rapidly, and of course backup troops need time to establish new lines of communication, new lines of supply and support, so that logistics will operate normally, and therefore I expect this offensive to take some pause for a day or two, and then we will see additional push of Russian armed forces. Also, by the way, when it comes to Kharkov region, in Kupiansk direction, and Kupiansk sector is also Kharkov region, of course. In this direction, for whatever reason, Kiev regime forces conducted a local-scale offensive operation towards Kislyovka settlement, and their entire armed group of Kiev regime forces were obliterated. Maybe this personnel of Kiev regime forces were under drugs or under influence of something, because they conducted purely suicidal operation. Maybe they wanted to be killed. I just don't get it. I saw a video, by the way, totally nonsensical, offensive. Also, when it comes to other sectors of the front line, Chisov Yar, northern flank of Donetsk sector, according to some reports, Russian forces conducted ground offensive operations towards Canal micro district of the Chisov Yar, and on my Telegram channel this morning I shared this video about this local scale offensive, and as you can see, entire area is in smoke, there are explosions here and there, and Russian armored vehicle, it's hard to tell from this angle, it's a tank or infantry fighting vehicle, is moving towards this high-rise buildings there, and location of this offensive is here, by the way. This is the area that we see on that video, and I would not be surprised at all if during the day we will learn that Russian armed forces establish control over this block, this part of this canal district. Simultaneously, Russian forces conducting operations on the northern side of the district in this Dachi area. Also, we had some reports. Russian forces established control over this forestry, by the way, on the southern flank of Chisov Yar. And we had reports that Russian forces conducted local-scale offensive operations towards Klishevka, also, which is quite expected, because I mentioned it a few times during the previous updates, many other channels also, that it is highly likely that Russian forces probably will intensify their operations in Klishevka-Andreevka direction, and will force Ukrainian units to pull back towards this irrigation channel, because as far as I understand, that's one of the tasks of Russian forces, to reach this channel in this northern flank of Donetsk sector. Also, by the way, when it comes to Avdiivka sector, Russian armed forces conducting offensive operations towards Yasna Brodovka. This settlement here on the southern or even central, I guess, part of Avdiivka sector, and if Russian forces are successful, and of course they will be successful, by the way, it's only a matter of time, and once Yasna Brodovka will be under full Russian control, if you take a look at the map, this is Acheretina, by the way, this is Yasna Brodovka here, and I guess Russian side will create artillery pocket for Kiev regime forces that are in these fields, digging in these fields, and after dealing significant blow to these forces of the Kiev regime in this artillery pocket, I guess Russian side will conduct further offensive operations and straighten the line to shorten this contact line, and will establish control over this field. And I guess Novopokrovskaya also will become under full Russian control in upcoming days, maybe even before end of this week. And of course, on the line of contact, Krasnogorovka is a hotspot on the southern flank of that's Krasnogorovka, by the way, on the southern flank of Donetsk sector of the front line. And there were some reports that several Ukrainian units, platoons, left their positions without any orders and ran away from this settlement from northern western part of Krasnogorovka, this residential area, which is basically, I mean, 1-2 floor up, up buildings, 1-2 floor private housing sector. And well, in any case, Russian, according to all major sources, Russian forces established control over the strategic areas of the settlement to have operational control over the Krasnogorovka, and it's only a matter of time at this point when the entire settlement will become under full Russian control. And also reports are coming in that Kiev regime withdraw its forces from Konstantinovka area and redeployed several units, at least, of the 79th Brigade have been withdrawn from Konstantinovka area and deployed towards Kharkov region. And if that's the case, and if Kiev regime, number of Kiev regime forces in Konstantinovka area is extremely low at this point, maybe we will see Russian offensive operations towards to intensify towards Paraskovievka and Konstantinovka settlements also. And by the way, when it comes to redeployment of the Kiev regime forces towards Kharkov region, it's happening not just from Konstantinovka area, which is South Donetsk sector, but from all along the front line, from Chisov Yar direction, from Avdiivka sector, from Zaporozhye sector, Kherson sector, from Donetsk sector, from wherever, I mean, or from whatever area Kiev regime can withdraw some units and through towards Kharkov region, they are doing this, and that definitely indicates dire situation for a Kiev regime, and how stretched basically Kiev regime forces are. Anyway, let's continue with some additional news. I remind you, dear friends, that if you are new to independent media, alternative media, and are not yet familiar with it, I remind you that more detailed information about zone of special military operation, about this daily local scale battles and changes on the line of contact. More detailed information is available on military channels. They are providing great volume of information on that matter. And if you are not familiar with the military channels, under this video in description box you can see my recommendation list of the channels that I follow, and you can find there at least several links to military channels. Let's continue now with some additional news. And TASS News Agency's report here about statement of Russian military expert Andrei Marochko, who stated that in previous several days in the northern part of Kharkov region, as a result of Russian offensive operations, Kiev regime already lost about 500 military personnel, which is quite significant number. If about 500 military personnel was killed in action on the part of Kiev regime, then most likely about 1,500 military personnel have been wounded, which is definitely significant losses. No wonder Kiev regime is pulling out units from all along the line of contact and directing them towards Kharkov region. RT is also reporting that, well, according to CNN, by the way, Ukraine is facing a nightmare. The new Russian offensive in the eastern Ukrainian region of Kharkov puts President Vladimir Zelensky in a tough spot of having to make sacrifices in order to his soldiers to hold the line. CNN wrote in its analysis, the Russian army has captured 9 villages. This is not correct, by the way. Russian armed forces captured about 20 different settlements at this point. But anyways, let's go with this article. CNN. Russian army has captured 9 villages since it launched an offensive on Friday, according to Russian Defense Ministry. We know Russian Defense Ministry is late, very conservative, and always makes announcement about liberation of this or that settlement, like few days after settlements are liberated. Ukraine's general staff reported that Russians have had tactical success and said there was heavy fighting for the control of the border town of Volchansk. CNN's chief international security correspondent, Nick Patton Walsh, offered a grimmer assessment of the situation on the battlefield on Monday, describing the progress made by Russian troops as arguably the fastest advance since the first days of the war. This is a nightmare for Kiev for 2 reasons. Firstly, they liberated this land from the Russian forces 18 months ago, yet failed to clearly clearly to fortify the area enough to prevent Moscow sweeping back with the ease with which they were swept out. Patton Walsh wrote in analysis, and secondly, Russia can again tie up Ukraine's overstretched army with the constant and grinding pressure on Kharkiv, exacting to a toll with crude shelling on a vast urban center. He argued. Patton Walsh added that Zelensky faces ugly choices about where to send limited resources and where ultimately to sacrifice. First of all, this idiot from CNN has no idea about Russian strategy in Kharkiv, by the way. Yes, in 2022, Russian armed forces withdrew from certain areas. That was a right decision at the moment, because we all remember that in 2022, Russian forces advanced in the Kiev-controlled territories very rapidly, and their main task on initial stages for Russian forces were to basically put enough pressure on the Kiev regime so that Zelensky's regime will start negotiating process. And that's exactly what happened. So operation was successful. Enough pressure was put on a Kiev regime so that Zelensky and his associates start negotiating. There was negotiating process in Turkey, and Kiev regime agreed on Russian terms to end hostilities. So therefore, operation was successful. But then, of course, United Kingdom and US get involved. Western ruling elites basically derailed this end of hostilities and negotiating process to achieve a ceasefire. And after that, of course, Russia had to start operating with the plan B, and to conduct operations with the plan B, Russian forces had to be withdrawn from certain areas that were preoccupied because of this initial task. Main task for forces to put enough pressure to start force them to start negotiating. And once this negotiating process was derailed, then of course plan B had to be introduced, implemented, and that's what Russian forces did, and that's why Russian forces withdraw from Kharkiv region. And and now it is too clear, by the way. On initial stages, I was surprised that it was happening. Everybody was surprised because we did not understand. We did not have information. But now we do. But this idiot from CNN seems like, don't cares about information that is already available in the public. He just don't care about it. He wants to, do some advertising for Kiev regime. They did it, like in 2024. They forced Russians out. They did not force nothing, man. It was strategic decision on the part of Russian forces to withdraw from their areas that were at that point undefendable, because those forces did not went in those areas to dig in. It was a different task, and that task was completed on 100%. And once situation changed, once this negotiating process was derailed, then things change, of course, and Russian Plan B went in force, and we all can see that this Plan B, which is this active defense strategy, which is basically based on attrition, in partially at least, actually, no, definitely working, and not just Kiev regime is denazified and demilitarized, but also NATO, by the way. Also NATO is getting demilitarized. I mean, like it or not, but that's what it is. That's what it is. And already there is a number of countries among NATO that are saying openly that they send everything they got. They are unable now to defend themselves if anything happens, because they don't have enough weapons. But anyways, man, it's still somewhat surprising that CNN, this propaganda outlet of the CIA, by the way, CIA and Pentagon, even this propaganda outlet is acknowledging that Kiev regime is in deep trouble, and the Western masters of the Kiev regime also. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, head of U.S. State Department, Anthony Blinken, is in Kiev. Okay, he will of course make some, or at least will try to make some strong statements, and how U.S. will forever support Zelensky and his criminal associates, and how strong Kiev regime is, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, does anybody cares at this point what Blinken has to say? This absolutely immoral individual. I mean, he is not respected even in US, by the way. No decent human being respects Blinken even in US itself. I mean, what else to be said? I mean, come on. Anyways, let's continue. TASS News Agency is reporting that according to Jake Sullivan, advisor of the Biden in national security matters, US is putting pressure on NATO member states, more Patriot batteries to be sent to Kiev regime, although US itself is refusing to send Patriot batteries to Kiev regime, at least for now. No explanations given, but maybe US just don't really have that many Patriots left. Who knows? RIA Novosti is also reporting that very same individual, Jake Sullivan, stated that Kiev, in upcoming days, Kiev regime will receive a new military aid package from US. Most likely that aid package already is in Ukraine. Usually when announcements are made about deliveries of some weapons to Kiev regime, those weapons already are in Ukraine. RT is also reporting that Danish Prime Minister reveals timeline for first F-16 deliveries to Ukraine. F-16s, by the way, are not going away from headlines, man. Not in Russia, not in Western media. It's a constant topic. The US made F-16 fighter jets will arrive in Ukraine in the coming months. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said on Monday their batch will include 5 aircraft. She announced at a joint press conference with the leader of the other Nordic nation, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and in Stockholm. Copenhagen is a part of a coalition that promised to send basically to Kiev regime US made F-16 fighter jets, and Denmark vowed to provide 19 of its 40 aircraft, 19 of 40 aircraft that was pledged by this group. Another 24 of the jets have been promised by Netherlands. The first 5 planes from Denmark will be in the air in the coming months from now. So in the coming months from now, June, in next 30 days. That's what she meant. Who knows, man? I mean, at this point, it is really difficult to understand what these Western politicians really mean when they say something. But whatever the case, by the way, of course, no F-16s, no any other weapon systems gonna make any significant difference on the battlefield. They are not wonder weapons. Then we're gonna turn the tide. Russia already is victorious over their Western ruling class. And it is only matter of formalization of the Russian victory in this proxy war that was waged against Russia by collective West. It is what it is, man. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting also, and this is quite interesting, by the way, that a senior US military official has apparently inadvertently acknowledged to the media that the British commanders are secretly operating in Ukraine. The comment was later removed from their original article. So General Brian Fenton, commander of the US Special Operations Command, was interviewed by Associated Press about the lessons that his force is learning from the conflict. The original version of the story, published on the Sunday, said that Americans get those lessons mostly through their eyes of UK special operations partners who have been testing new approaches there. As an example, he said the British special operations forces were drawing on their experience of RAF pilots for advice using drones and their way ship in the Black Sea navigates. So, by the way, this individual and this text has since been redacted to remove any mention of the British military role in the Ukrainian conflict. So, well, this is a quite direct acknowledgement, isn't it, that UK is involved directly in this conflict. We all know this. This is not a surprise to any of us. We all know that UK's militaries and secret services are basically planning and commanding operations of the Kiev regime when it comes to drone strikes, including not just aerial drones but also naval drones in the southern sectors of the front line, including towards Crimea. Of course, UK military personnel is in charge of operations with the Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles. This is not a secret. We all know this, but because London never acknowledged this openly, this type of statements from some other parties definitely interesting. Because these kind of statements are removing from hands of UK this plausible deniability argument. But when it comes to British military personnel in UK, by the way, I mean, quite a number of them already being killed in the battle, and there was instances when these killed military officers of the UK were, transferred to Kiev regime by Russian side, including by Wagner PMC, by the way. When Wagner PMC was operating, for example, on the lines of contact. So it's, we all know that they are British special forces in your area, and they have very significant casualties as a result of their involvement, and they will have more casualties. I have no doubts about that. And same goes for French military personnel, by the way. I don't know if you see a video on my Telegram channel that I posted yesterday. There was a POW, Ukrainian POW. Russian forces captured this soldier who was an active soldier of the French Foreign Legion. Active soldier of the French Foreign Legion, and he's saying during the interrogation that significant number of soldiers, active soldiers of the French foreign legions have been deployed into Ukraine, mostly Slavs, and the French leadership knows about it, and these people are not dismissed from their foreign legion. They are not dismissed. They are still active members, and no action have been taken against them. It's exactly the opposite. I mean, they were encouraged by leadership of France to get engaged in this conflict and to fight on behalf of terrorists and the Nazis in Ukraine, on behalf of this criminal Kiev regime. So it's, I mean, anyways, let's continue. RBK News Agency is reporting that, well, Estonia, by the way, this is superpower of this world, by the way. I mean, greatest superpower ever. Estonia is considering deployment of its troops to Ukraine, into Western Ukraine, to conduct some logistics, to help Kiev regime with some logistics operations. Okay, do it. Let's see how long your expeditionary forces, greatest superpower Estonia, will last in that Western Ukraine or anywhere, man, on Ukrainian territory. I mean, how you can, what you gonna comment on this, by the way? I mean, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, they are headed by extreme Russophobes, by the way. They are really sick individuals. Hatred is so high in those people that they will sacrifice their own citizens in attempt to at least, I mean, little bit damage interests of Russia or Russians. That's how sick they are, by the way. And I have no doubts that eventually, most likely, Estonia will send its troops to get killed in Ukraine. You know. Anyways, let's continue. Glad newspaper is reporting that, well, Defense Ministry of Canada, by the way, is surprisingly against of deployments of NATO troops into Ukraine. So there is some mess in the West, isn't it, among Western ruling elites. Some countries are calling on daily basis, let's deploy troops, then let's do this and that, and let's further escalate with Moscow. And sometimes you are hearing this kind of, you are seeing this kind of information when this country or that country among those NATO members are calling for more cautious approach. And at this point, this is more surprising, by the way, when you see calls in the West to take a more cautious approach. This is much more surprising than when you see these kind of statements, like from Estonia, that they will deploy their troops into Ukraine. And this was stated, by the way, from Estonia by advisor of the president of Estonia. Anyways, good for Canada, by the way, if they don't want to send their troops in Ukraine to die. I mean, good for Canada, good for Canadian militaries, by the way. But because why should they die for this most corrupt regime in the world, for Zelensky's regime and the geopolitical agenda of the evil ruling class of the West? Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that Germany rules out Ukraine no-fly zone. Lately, talks have begun, as I reported in previous updates, that maybe NATO will start covering, introducing some no-fly zone over some parts of Ukraine, western parts, for example. And now we have this information here. Berlin opposes any initiatives aimed at establishing a no-fly zone over any part of Ukrainian territory that would be controlled by NATO forces. German government spokesman Stefan Hebestreit told the press conference on Monday a group of German MPs, by the way, supported group of German MPs come up with such idea earlier and then supported it. they receive larger support in German parliament, in the Bundestag, to create some sort of no-fly zone over the Ukraine. But seems like at this point, at least, German government has different opinion or approach. Although, by the way, eventually, once Ukraine will start undergoing this final disintegration process, which is inevitable, and when NATO will start deploying its troops into Western Ukraine in large numbers, of course, they will try to introduce no-fly zone also over the western part of Ukraine. All these talks right now is just a preparation of the ground, so that public would not be as much surprised that NATO troops end up in Western Ukraine and then no-fly zone was established there. As I said many times before, by the way, I'm quite sure that once this conflict will end, Ukraine will be divided between its neighbors, and vast majority of Ukraine will be controlled by Russian forces, and Western Ukraine most likely will be controlled by NATO. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg once again criticized China over Russian ties. Okay, these morons are unable to learn. By the way, those morons in high-ranking positions in the collective West just are unable to learn that, and unable to understand that they are not moral authority in this world. They are not authority in this world at all. They are nobody. They may have some power in their countries in the collective West, but outside of collective West, they've been seen as clowns. And therefore, no matter how many times those bloody clowns gonna call or criticize this country or that country for having good relationships with Russia, I mean, yet again, outside of Western world, just no one cares about it, about those criticisms of the collective West. At this point, by the way, it is really obvious, isn't it, that collective West is living in its own bubble, in some parallel universe, when Western ruling class is imagines himself as being a dominant force in this world and the rulers of this world, and there is a real reality in which this Western world is isolated somewhere there, and the rest of the world is just continue to live its life. I mean, that's the situation that we are in right now. And more and longer, Western ruling elites continue to act this arrogantly, this crazy basically, and disrespectfully towards the rest of the world. More isolated Western world will become eventually. It is what it is. RT is reporting that NATO's newest member could host US nukes. Okay, Sweden would accept nuclear weapons on its soil, but only in the event of war. Prime Minister of Sweden, Ulf Kristersson, has stated, okay, Poland wants US nukes on its territory. I guess Sweden also wants nukes on its territory, otherwise why would they even talk about this matter? No one is going to attack Sweden, definitely not Russia, if not provoked once again. But well, if they want to host nukes, let them have it. Let them have it, man. For Russia has, I don't know, 5,000 to 7,000 nukes, isn't it? So for Russia, it's not a big deal to, you know, put some coordinates in the warheads, in 20, 50, 100 warheads, coordinates of Sweden, some strategic objects in Sweden. If nukes will arrive in Sweden, that's what will happen. Russia will, you know, direct few dozen or maybe few hundred, because Russia has a lot of those nukes, maybe a few hundred nukes on Sweden, you know, just in case anything goes sideways. And same about Poland, by the way. I mean, if Poland wants to be potential target of several hundred of Russian nukes, then let them also, you know, have these US nuclear weapons. I mean, it's totally nonsensical. It is a decision of the societies of Poland and Sweden. I mean, if they are okay with this crazy of the elites, you know. But I'm still believing, by the way, that there will be no full-scale conflict between Russia and NATO. So therefore, I don't see any reason to be, too pessimistic about future. I mean, Western ruling class may at some point provoke war with China. That's a whole different story, and most likely that's what will happen. Well, in 10-15 years from now, probably world will end up on the edge of nuclear disaster because of the confrontation of the West and the China. But when it comes to Russia-West relationships, I don't think we will, ever see full-scale nuclear confrontation between Russia and the West. I'm quite sure about it. Anyways, by the way, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that U.S. citizens, by the way, have been arrested. 2 U.S. citizens have been arrested in Georgia, and during these demonstrations of the Western-controlled so-called opposition in Georgia, that is opposing this bill about foreign agents, and those instructors, according to reports from Georgia, those instructors were training these youngsters in Georgia that are under influence of the propaganda of the West and these so-called politicians and NGOs in Georgia and Western-controlled media. So these instructors were, teaching those youngsters in Georgia how to destabilize situation, how to provoke destabilization, and they have been arrested. Well, good for Georgia. Good for Georgia, but this is not enough, man. This is definitely not enough. Danger that Georgia is facing because of the destructive attitude of the U.S. ruling class and the Western ruling class in general towards Georgia. Those dangers are, extreme. And by the way, Vzglyad newspaper also reporting that founder of the Georgia's ruling party, Bizina Ivanishvili, refused to have a meeting with the high-ranking official of U.S. State Department, James O'Brien, which is also interesting. This is clearly a statement, basically. This is clearly a statement of not just Bizina Ivanishvili, but Georgian ruling party and the government that they are not going to back down under U.S. pressure. But yet again, by the way, are they really in a position to withstand this pressure and to withstand all the possible provocations that Washington will initiate in Georgia? I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's hope so. But I don't know. And today, by the way, on 14th of May, Georgian parliament is planning to adopt this bill about foreign agents in a third reading. And most likely it will happen, I guess, today. This so-called Western-controlled or U.S.-controlled, this so-called opposition in Georgia will probably try to conduct some destabilization to destabilize situation once again, and maybe they will try to distract MPs in the parliament to vote for this bill. Let's see. I will report if any updates on that matter. But President of Georgia, by the way, already stated, Salome Zurabishvili, that she will veto that bill if Parliament will pass it. So I guess this story will not end today, even if bill will be adopted in a third reading. After President's veto, a ruling party will try to overcome that veto, and they have enough numbers in the Parliament to do so, as far as I know. let's see. Georgia is definitely facing very significant difficulties and challenges, and I really hope current government of Georgia will manage to keep society of Georgia and Georgia as a state itself safe and secure, man. Because there are very, very difficult challenges ahead of this former Soviet Republic. Anyways, let's continue. Zgliad newspaper is reporting that government of Moldova, by the way, government of Moldova, demanding Russian forces to be withdrawn from Transnistria, Russian peacekeepers to be withdrawn from Transnistria. Prime Minister of Moldova, Dorin Recian, made a statement that Moldova is demanding from Russia, these Russian forces to be withdrawn, Russian peacekeepers, and he called presence of those troops, Russian troops, in Transnistria as an issue to deal with the Transnistria. And well, Russian force is not gonna go anywhere. Moldova is not a state, is a quasi-state, is a joke. It's a joke, by the way. Let's be real here. Moldova is a joke, a client state of the Western ruling class, and therefore no one here in Moscow cares what current leadership of Moldova has to say. I mean, just literally nobody cares about them, right? These people are nobody. They just don't realize this, that they are nobodies, man. You know, they've been put in a place of power by the Western masters, basically to disintegrate Moldova. That's why they've been put in power, in position of power, so that they will provoke disintegration, further disintegration of Moldova, which is inevitable, by the way. And it's not just Transnistria, but also I'm quite sure that Gagauzia autonomous region will also declare its independence from Moldova. Some other regions, I guess, will join Transnistria and Gagauzia, and rest what will be left from Moldova most likely will join Romania, by the way. That's what's gonna happen. And these nobodies will provoke it, and they are provoking it, by the way. If Moldova had some adequate government, that's a whole different story, but under such leadership like this idiot, Dorin Recian, Prime Minister of Moldova, or President of Moldova, this Sandu, this stupid, individual, under such people, when such people are in government, Moldova is doomed for full-scale disintegration, by the way, and to cease to exist on the political map as a state. It's absolutely inevitable. Mark my words, by the way. Just mark my words. I don't know how long it will take, a year, 2 or 3, but eventually Moldova will disappear from political map. It's just inevitable. TASS news agency is reporting that Poland, so many news, by the way, and this update is already, I guess, quite long, 48 minutes. Okay, I will go through headlines at least. So Poland stopped negotiations with the Ukrainian side on topics of export, import of agriculture, and reasoning for stopping these negotiations is that several members of Ukrainian delegation have been accused in Ukraine of corruption. And Warsaw, of course, it's enough reason, obviously, I mean, understandable reason to stop any negotiations with the Kiev regime. Poland never even wanted to negotiate anything. Warsaw is quite happy to block border for any goods from Ukraine. Polish farmers will be happy about it, and the European farmers in general. So therefore, yes, that's another interesting story, that several members, including Minister of Agriculture, by the way, of Ukraine, have been accused of corruption. And of course, Warsaw will use this opportunity to cut all negotiations with Kiev, for now at least. RT is reporting that US is about to hike tariffs on Chinese goods, according to Bloomberg. US President Joe Biden is set to double, triple, and quadruple tariffs on some Chinese goods, Bloomberg has reported. It is the latest step in escalating trade dispute between the world's two biggest economies. And, I know situation with the inflation in US is already quite difficult. There are so many videos on internet, by the way, so many reports of the ordinary people that they are finding extremely difficult, more and more difficult to deal with the prices, with inflation in the US. I guess with these kind of steps from the White House, inflation will even further increase. It is what it is. I mean, it may help local production. Yes, it may help local production, local produce or local products, whatever that is, will be more competitive in one hand, but in other hands, if Chinese goods are tariffs on Chinese goods are like twice or three times more than now, then of course it will impact inflation inevitably. TASS news agency is reporting that, according to Russian ambassador in US, Anatoly Antonov, decision of the Washington to ban import of the Russian uranium will distract this segment of the world market significantly and further and will generate further turbulence in relationships between the countries worldwide, which is quite understandable statement, because Russia is a major supplier of uranium to this world, to the energy nuclear power stations, including in US, by the way. And already several companies in US asking US government for permission to buy uranium from Russia, despite this ban on import of Russian uranium. So Antonov definitely has a point here, but at this point, does US leadership cares about anything at all in this world? I don't think so. They are, I don't know what they are doing, man. I guess no one understands. I guess no one really understands what the hell is wrong with the Western ruling class and the so-called ruling elites. Why they are destroying Western world and why they are trying to destabilize the entire world. What is wrong with them? RT is reporting that India and Iran signed long-term port deal. This is a serious issue, and well done to both countries, by the way. So New Delhi and Tehran have signed a 10-year deal allowing New Delhi to operate Chabahar port on the country's southern eastern coast along the Gulf of Oman. Well, this is yet again, big deal, of course. Cooperation between BRICS member states increasing, and it's not just China that is heavily invested and continues to invest in Iran, not just Russia, but also India. And it's good, by the way. It's all good, although of course Washington is not happy about it. And the official representative of State Department already threatened India with the sanctions for this deal with Iran, by the way. So yet again, all Western ruling class, most Western ruling elites are doing is creating trouble worldwide, destabilizing world, by the way. They are just unable to work with the other countries, man. They are unable. They don't know how to do this. If they are not in charge, if they are not commanding, then they will try to destroy whatever is in front of them. Unfortunate reality, really. RT is reporting that Russia's oil and gas revenues soared. Russia's energy revenues saw a massive increase in the first 4 months of the year, mainly due to rising oil prices, the finance ministry has revealed. So proceeds from the oil and gas exports jumping by 82.2%, by the way. Wow, 82.2% in January-April compared to the same period of 2023. That's quite a jump, by the way, I will say. So reaching over 4.2 trillion rubles, which is 45.3 billion US dollars, the ministry said in a press release. So yes, from January to April, Russian revenues reach 45 billion. When it comes to gas and oil exports, well, great, by the way. RT is reporting that, well, practicing Christians more skeptical of AI. Well, some different news, by the way, not about politics and economies, although this is about economy, clearly, at least partially. So practicing Christians are more skeptical of AI, according to polls. Practicing Christians and their scripture engaged believers, I don't know what that is, scripture engaged believers. Anyways, in the US, I guess this is also practicing Christians, or I don't know. So practicing Christians and the scripture engaged believers in the US are more skeptical of rapidly developing artificial intelligence, AI, than the public as a whole, according to new survey by American Bible Society. In its second chapter of their annual State of the Bible report, released last week, their non-profit organization examined the respondents' opinions about the technology and what role it plays in their faith. The study was based on 2,500 basically online interviews with American adults across the states, and well, mass majority. I mean, their findings show that the level of uncertainty about AI were high across the board, with 68% of the general public disagreed with their idea that AI could promote spiritual health, and 58% of the people disagreed that AI could aid in moral reasoning. Well, that's a quite interesting study. I mean, how they come up with this idea? But anyways, AI is a big deal, by the way. Just yesterday, I shared on my Telegram channel this video of a new feature based on AI for phones. And I mean, basically, you can use phone cameras and just zoom around, and AI will react whatever camera sees and will engage with you. And you know, keep conversation. I was surprised to see it, by the way, but AIs are getting more and more powerful, more and more intellectual, and well, I know it is impossible to stop probably development of AI, but eventually, if you know, I mean, if at some point AI will reach a level when it has consciousness, it understands, you know, I mean, if AI sees itself as some conscious being, artificial or whatever, then what will happen after that? How AI, this possibly independent artificial intellect will interact with us? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that AI will definitely exterminate humanity. I don't know, but AI is gonna be 1,000 times more clever than we are, humans. 1,000,000 times more clever than we are, because you know, they are AIs. And who knows what will they think about us? I don't know. But many people are quite scared of that prospect, that at some point AI will reach such a level of development that they will gain consciousness, and at that point they may just exterminate humanity as a, you know, as a barrier on their path of development. I don't know. RT is reporting that well, Russia had its coldest ever start to May, according to data, by the way, and many of you already probably notice it in my videos from outside or from videos from Victory Day on 9th of May, from parade. At some point it was snowing, at some point it was sunny day. Quite cold days, by the way, quite cold days, undoubtedly. So the first 10 days of the May were the coldest the European part of Russia has witnessed in their history of meteorological observations. According to director of Russia's Hydrometeorological Center, Romana Wilfand. So, yes, by the way, yes, we have quite a cold May, although, you know, it's okay, it's okay. I don't like when it's too hot. All other types of weather is cool, it's okay. Snow, I love snow, I love when it's so freezing, when it's snow, I love winter. Spring and autumn, they are also okay. But summer, nah, I don't like summer, man. It's just too hot, man. I'm okay with summer, but I don't really like it. Anyways, by the way, this is it for today's update. Hopefully you will find it somewhat informative and interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about anything, just about any topic. More likes and comments are only way we have to influence the algorithm and somehow reach wider audience, or to end up in recommendations of the algorithm, so that more people will see these videos that may have interest in news and politics in general, including from Russia. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channels with your friends on any of the platforms that you're actively using. And finally, if you think this channel is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And well, when it comes to Patreon, by the way, I really hope more people will subscribe to my Patreon, because it allows me to know what funds I have for a month, and it's very, very helpful. Very helpful. I'm grateful for all the supports that I'm receiving from other platforms, obviously. But well, if you can, dear friends, if you want to support my work, please consider to subscribe to my Patreon. It's very important to further develop, to know basically what funds I have and which way I can afford to further develop this project. And yes, I mean, I forget, I was planning to, and yes, by the way, when it comes to Patreon page itself, I'm definitely trying as much as I can to make as many extra content on Patreon as I can. Unfortunately, I'm unable to do extra videos every day, but I'm definitely trying. So that's my way of thanking for subscription on Patreon and supporting my work. Anyways, this is it for now. Have a great day, and take care.